First, we have learned just about an extended closure for some local schools. So can you take sick time to watch your kids? We are breaking down what you need to know about worker protections and a live look from Washington, D.C., where the president announced we are now in a national emergency. We're breaking down his new plan to get more people tested all across the country. And local, you may have seen some snowflakes today, and you weren't alone. But could we see more of this weekend? Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson has everything you need to know. The 4 o'clock news starts now. And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for the 4 o'clock news. I'm Bonnie Silkman. First up, we have all new information about those school closures here in the Northwest. Washington and Oregon have both made the decision to close all schools across the state. In Oregon, K through 12 schools will close on Monday until April 1st. Now, in Washington, this closure is now extended to every school in the state, and it's longer. The earliest possible date that students could return to class would be April 27th. And we now have 30 positive cases in Oregon. And across the river, there are 3 cases in Clark County. And today, President Trump declared a national emergency. So we have a lot to get to. We do have team coverage. First up, though, let's get to our Pete Ferryman. He has much more on what the president had to say today. Pete?
Bonnie, thank you very much. The president made 2 big announcements from the Rose Garden today. First, he declared a national emergency, freeing up $50 billion to address the pandemic, including increased testing. Second, he announced a public-private partnership with Google and other companies. He says Google is creating a website to expedite the testing process. That website would allow individuals to enter their symptoms, consult with a doctor, and then be directed to a testing site in their area if warranted. The emergency announcement also clears up red tape, allowing the private sector to work with public agencies to create a more efficient system for testing and treatment. The president says it will allow the Department of Health and Human Services to also waive certain guidelines related to Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Insurance Plan. The president also announced interest for all federal student loans will be waived right now, and is directing the Secretary of Energy to purchase crude oil for the nation's strategic reserves, given the fact that oil is at such a low price right now. Officials say the numbers from the United States are mirroring those of other countries around the world.
In South Korea, I want to repeat, only 4% of the tests were positive. That means 96% of the people had a different respiratory disease, because we're in the middle of flu season, cold season, and all of the other respiratory diseases that we get every day. In LabCorp and Quest's early data, they're running about 1% to 2% positive. That means that we have a lot more other respiratory disease out there besides the coronavirus.
And regarding the testing and that website I mentioned, the president says that it would direct you to a site for drive-through testing if you needed to be tested. And he mentioned that within a month, there could be 5 million testing kits available for people. He said by next week, he expects there to be 500,000 tests available. The president did stress that he only wanted people to be tested who actually need to be tested because they've been exposed to or have symptoms of the coronavirus. President Trump said that he is considering getting tested himself for the novel coronavirus. Despite feeling okay, he had contact with a Brazilian official last week who has tested positive. Reporting in studio, Pete Ferryman, Fox 12 Oregon.
Pete, thank you. And right now, as we mentioned, there are 30 positive cases, COVID-19 in Oregon, as 6 more people living in the Oregon Veterans Home in Lebanon tested positive. So that brings the number of cases in that facility to 8. All those patients have been put into isolation inside the facility. We've also learned that there's a drive-through testing spot set up in the city. We're taking you there at 5 and showing you what those tests look like. And schools all across Oregon are shutting down for the next 2.5 weeks. Today, Governor Brown made it clear that it's because of staffing challenges. The governor said it's now impossible for schools to operate due to shortages in staff. That includes workers who are at elevated risks, such as those over 60 years old. But this, of course, leaves parents scrambling to figure out childcare, and districts are working on plans for deep cleaning, meal distribution, and continued learning. So a lot to get to. Our Kelsey Watts is live tonight with that part of this story. Kelsey?
Well, Bonnie, of course, this situation is changing so quickly, and parents and school leaders are now rushing to figure out what they need to do today and over the weekend to be ready for this unprecedented closure that starts Monday. School buses pulling up to crowded buildings. It's the last time we'll see this for a while, with Governor Kate Brown shutting down Oregon schools for the rest of March. Some parents tell us they'll stay home with their kids.
They're suggesting us stay in our houses and have family time and things like that, so that's probably what we'll do.
But others don't have that choice.
I have a neighbor who, she is a single mom and doesn't have the opportunity to be able to do that with her son. So, I mean, it's going to be rough for some people.
There are still a lot of questions about what this closure will look like. It's possible the lost time will have to be made up at the end of the year, and districts are trying to figure out what classes, if any, they can move online.
I know that for some of my electives, I can just do it online because they have like an online class that I can continue the program with. But definitely for like my physics or math class, I would definitely benefit from having that course set up.
And it's not, right?
Yeah, it's not.
We do know the state is asking schools to continue to provide meals for students who need them. Those plans are being worked out right now, too, and may involve drive-through or pickup sites for breakfast and lunch.
We are looking at the immediate, so we're looking at this 2 weeks, obviously, and then we're looking at what if it's beyond that.
Alex Mann's 2 young kids are in several child care scenarios and youth sports. Plus, his wife is a teacher in a local school district.
Worrying about, are we going to bring this home? We have multiple parents that are caretakers for our children as well on particular days of the week. So we started worrying about, are they going to be in danger?
He says they'll hunker down at home for the next 2 weeks and see how all of this plays out. Everyone hoping the closures slow the spread of COVID-19 so schools can reopen in April.
But since it's traveling around pretty quick, I guess it's better to stay safe.
And the largest school district in our area, Portland Public Schools, tells us teachers are giving out some printed instructional resources today for topics like math and language arts. That district is also setting up a portal for virtual learning opportunities on its website, and we're told that portal will be updated throughout this closure. Reporting in Northwest Portland, Kelsey Watts, Fox 12 Oregon.
Kelsey, thank you. And today, Governor Kate Brown said she's working to get child care help to families of healthcare workers and first responders. So now that schools are closed, many parents could be turning to child care centers, but those may also be affected. The state has not yet set any guidelines for daycare operators. So really right now, it's up to each individual center to make that decision. Melody Killens, who owns a daycare in St. Helens, says she is concerned.
We're all being left in limbo, and each of those children that now no longer can go to school for the next 2 weeks or longer are going to be shoved into all of our child care centers and a whole lot closer than the 3 feet minimum that they're saying would be the protector for all of us.
And Killens says she hasn't decided yet if she's going to stay open or shut down. She says she expects to get more guidance on this from the state by Monday. And as families weigh their options right now, some local businesses are taking action as well. Nike has encouraged all U.S.-based employees to work from home. However, Nike's world headquarters in Beaverton will remain open. So say you need to stay home to take care of your kids. Well, what are your rights and could you still get paid? Well, coming up in just a few minutes, investigative reporter Simon Gutierrez takes a closer look at that. And looking around town ahead of this weekend, here's a look at what some of the major tourist spots are doing. Over at the Oregon Zoo, some areas there are closed, including indoor areas. Spring break camps are canceled. OMSI will be closed to the public starting Saturday, the 14th through the end of the month. And the Portland Children's Museum will also be closed for 2 weeks. That starts Monday. This weekend, monthly activities and events are canceled. Spring break camps, again, as we said, are canceled. And we do want to give you a better idea of why these places are shutting down, why these events are being canceled. For much more on that, our Elizabeth Din brings us a closer look.
That's right, Bonnie. And I do want to explain this graph for everybody. This is a graphic from the Oregon Health Authority. Now, you see this red line? It is what a typical pandemic can look like. And so there is that jump in cases over time, and then you see it go down. That's the decline. Now, this dotted black line here below, that demonstrates what health officials are aiming for. It shows this gradual increase in cases that sustains and then sort of drops at the end there. Now, they say that will keep our medical system from being overwhelmed so that they can treat cases effectively. But they also say reaching that goal will impact our day-to-day lives. Today, for example, Providence Health said it is looking at creative ways to keep up with infected patients and also possibly helping them at places other than the hospital. Right now, they do have tents like these for about 15 patient beds at the hospitals, but they are looking at old dorms from the nuns at Providence Portland, or even former grocery stores that have closed as potentially temporary mobile staging areas. We're going to have much more on that coming up at 5. For now, live in studio, Elizabeth Dinh, Fox 12 Oregon.
All right, Liz, thank you. And stocks surged as President Trump announced new steps to fight the coronavirus. The Dow Jones closing nearly 2,000 points up, doubling their gains in the last half hour as the president made those remarks. And today's gain recouped most of yesterday's historic plunge when the Dow dropped 10%. And there are constant updates, of course, coming into the newsroom about COVID-19. And now you can stay on top of the newest stories with our new Fox 12 streaming news app. You can watch live shows there for free at any time. That's 24/7. You can use any device, including your phone. Just search Fox 12 to watch our shows on your Roku, Amazon Fire, or Apple TV. And while we've been following all these coronavirus stories, we also can't forget about what people also had on their minds today, and that was the snow. Some of you saw this coming down, snowflakes, and this is a view from the Sylvan area. Okay. Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson joins us.
Here we go.
What's the deal, Mark?
We're going to have some little late winter, early spring excitement here. It's only going to last a few hours, but we basically see a little more moisture tomorrow for heftier showers. Some of us had quite a bit of snow coming down. And we see slightly cooler temps, which means more of us will get some stickage.
Okay.
That's not a scientific word.
I was up early this morning. It was very cold also.
Yeah, it was cold. So it'll be, in fact, it's still chilly out there right now, only 41 degrees. Typical highs in the mid-50s like yesterday. There is Seaside. It's cool out there, 44 degrees. And here are the current temps. Notice the Cascade foothills like Sandy and Estacada. You haven't made it out of the 30s today. That's a good indication it's a pretty cool air mass moving in. And here's the plan. You can see showers continue tonight, but look at that Portland temperature drop. By the time we get to 4 a.m., we're within a few degrees of freezing, and we see more showers, and we also have cold east winds starting to blow out of the gorge. That can be a perfect setup for snow. We don't see a snowstorm, but I think a lot of you will see white in the morning. So just this evening, nothing much happens, just some scattered mixed showers, mainly rain actually. 7:15 p.m. sunset and light wind out there. So Bonnie, coming up, we will talk about who could see the snow for tomorrow morning sticking on the ground.
All right, Mark, thanks. The 4 o'clock news is just getting started. With all this talk of COVID-19, it can sure take a toll on our mentality as anxiety runs high. How can you avoid getting down? We're sitting down with a health expert on how to keep your spirits up. And we are talking to 2 University of Oregon professors who are still in Italy following the outbreak, how a letter they wrote pushed the university to make some changes. Investigators are looking into an officer-involved shooting in Camas. Police were called out to this scene at Northeast 2nd and Joy Street. This was last night, where they investigated a report of a man with a weapon. Officers say that man was holding a gun and would not comply with their orders. At some point, a Camas officer fired at that man. He was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead. With the CDC's recommendations that people practice social distancing and work from home if possible, some are wondering what that means for their paychecks and whether they have the right to stay home. Our Fox 12 Simon Gutierrez joins us now in studio with what you need to know and what your rights are.
Yeah, Bonnie, Oregon's labor commissioner has been clear about this. Workers in Oregon, all workers, have the right to sick leave, paid and unpaid. But there are other reasons you can request to stay home, too. First off, if your employer has 10 or more regular employees, 6 or more in Portland, they have to pay you your regular wage when you're out sick. Oregonians get 1 hour of paid sick time for every 30 hours they work. Even if you haven't accrued paid sick leave, your right to unpaid sick leave is also protected by state law. If you're not sick yourself, you can use sick leave to care for your kids or family members if they're sick, injured, or experiencing mental health issues. You can also use sick time if your child's school or care center closes because of a public health emergency. And naturally, a lot of workers have concerns about this epidemic and the impact on their jobs and wages. Today, union leaders and tenants' rights advocates called on city leaders to make policies She's supporting vulnerable workers during this time of instability and insecurity.
If we don't do more to provide protections for folks, the social distancing measures that we've put into place are going to devastate and end up killing people. People are going to be evicted, people are losing work, people are losing income.
Local union leaders called on the city to issue a moratorium on evictions during this health crisis. They also asked landlords to work with tenants who are having trouble meeting rent deadlines. Reporting in studio, Simon Gutierrez, Fox 12 Oregon.
Simon, thank you. We've also talked about the big changes that colleges are making because of COVID-19 concerns, including many moving to online classes. Well, some students are now being forced out of their dorms. And U-Haul, the moving equipment and storage rental company, says it's now offering 30 days of free storage to any student who's forced out of their dorm room. U-Haul says no purchase is necessary to get that free space. Okay, let's take a breather from all the coronavirus updates and check out this view out on the coast. We definitely still need to know what our weather is doing. Lots of clouds out there right now. And this is the Shiloh Inn's Seaside camera. And that's what things look like now, but check out how things looked like earlier today. These are viewer videos of snow all around the area. Those are some decent sized flakes there. And this is a video from viewer Albert Dion from Washougal. So yeah, kind of crazy to see snow. It's been so gorgeous and warm this week.
And our 7-day forecast includes a lot of sunshine and warm temps. So this is going to be like this dip down for a day or two and then back up. Today was the first of 3 chilly days, basically. All right, so here's the plan. Let's just jump right into it. Lowest elevations here from Longview, I-5 all the way down to Albany and Eugene for that matter. We think there will be plenty of snow showers the first half of tomorrow, more so than today. There's more energy and more moisture. So I think before noon, anybody will see snow showers. They're going to come and go. 33 to 35 degrees, so we're talking like wet, slushy snow that would come down. But if you get a heavy shower, you could easily pick up an inch in just a half hour. So I'm going to call it 0 to 2 inches, and you're like, Mark, you can do better than that. Well, no, I can't because it's scattered showers. One neighborhood could get 2 inches. Your friend 10 miles away says it hardly even snowed in my house. I didn't get anything. That could happen tomorrow morning. So since it's so, well, temperatures above freezing, I think roads will stay mainly wet. That said, if you suddenly get an inch in 1 hour, roads could turn slushy. Then once we get past noon, just like today, the temperatures are rising. So I think we'll see a few sunbreaks tomorrow afternoon as well. We'll have a gusty east wind blowing out of the gorge, and that means that with a high temper on 42, things will just be wet. So I don't think it'll affect our life much, but I think a lot of us will wake up in the morning and go, wow, this is like winter. Kind of fun. So it won't affect us much. So near and above 1,000 feet, different story. I think there's more, just as much moisture, but better chance that everything comes down and sticks. So a trace to 3 inches near and above 1,000 feet. But even in those areas, it is mid-March, so just a sunbreak or two and it's melting. So mainly bare roads by the afternoon. So that's the plan. A brief flirtation with winter once again for the first half of tomorrow. So 44 degrees out at Shiloh and Seaside Cam. Plenty of rain just offshore. They're looking kind of stormy from our Chinook Winds beach cam. Tonight, those temperatures again, everybody stays above freezing. So it's not like we're going to have frozen roads, nothing like that. It's not like a snowstorm type setup. That said, it is our typical setup for when we get our big snow events, except it's too late in the season to have a big frozen snowstorm. Low pressure coming down to about here. There's higher pressure here. The cold air is being pulled down from the north late tonight and tomorrow. And then we've got the snow showers riding over the top of that. And you can see it here. Rain and snow forecast going all the way through Sunday. Well, it went and it's gone. But the point is, by the time we get to Sunday, we have offshore wind flow, and I think we'll see a lot of sunshine on Sunday. Total snow. I just want to show you one model here. It just gives you the idea. It thinks most of it will be from Portland north. Other models say, nope, it's all from Portland south. So that's why I think it'll be randomly scattered about. So to wrap it up, Bonnie, we have some snow showers the first part of the day, and then look for the showers to taper off. I think we'll see some sun breaks in the afternoon. Next 3 days, we've got 2 more chilly days. And Bonnie, look at Monday. Suddenly we're back to what we just had yesterday. So yeah, kind of interesting. Nice little, I think most people say, oh, that's kind of a nice break from all the news lately. Yeah. To wake up and maybe there's a little bit of snow on the car.
Something else
grass
to,
and everything.
This distraction for us.
Which means some kids could possibly sled in the morning briefly. Ooh. Away from other kids, of course.
Right. Yeah. Social distancing.
Distancing even while sledding.
All right, Mark, thank you. Okay, so as we see many events being canceled, that of course is not good news for the economy, but a local nonprofit says this is actually helping them help others. We'll explain. Plus, do you or someone you know have a cough right now? Could that be COVID-19? Or taking a closer look at the symptoms. For the first time, we're learning exactly how the 2020 Olympic trials for track and field in Eugene will be handled during this COVID-19 outbreak. Organizers say they're closely monitoring the situation, and so far things will go on as planned. However, it is postponing the release of tickets set for Monday, and if the event is canceled, customers will get a refund. Meanwhile, today, organizers for the Boston Marathon have postponed the race until September 14th. The event has 31,000 registered runners and sees about 1 million spectators. And because of a ton of events and conventions are getting canceled all around Portland, there's a surplus of unserved food, but this is turning into an unexpected blessing in our community's fight against hunger. Our Brian McMillan joins us now in studio with the silver lining in all of this.
There's so many events getting called off here, and while that's happening, it's undoubtedly a burden on businesses. But some local organizations who serve meals to low-income families and those experience homelessness say they are grateful to be benefiting from the cancellations.
We had loads, gallons and gallons of milk, tons of sandwiches that we're going to be distributing.
Nonprofit Blanche House in Northwest Portland has been providing food for people in need for decades. On average, they serve 1,000 meals a day. The organization normally gets donations from grocery stores and conventions that are about to expire or food that never got served. But as the COVID-19 outbreak is forcing large events to postpone or even cancel altogether on short notice, caterers and other food service providers are turning to Blanche House now more than ever for an immediate place to take its food.
Blanche House is committed to serving meals to people in need in whatever way that we can. We're one of the few organizations that are able to take in all of this excess food from the convention center, Keller Auditorium. We're getting calls from all over town.
With schools closing, the nonprofit also believes it will see an increase in families who are facing hunger, so it's planning to give them food to take home with them as well. Blanche House tells us it knows this influx in donations from canceled events is just temporary, so the group is trying to stock up on non-perishables to last them for a long time here as it waits for the COVID-19 to subside. If you'd like to donate or volunteer, we have a link on our website. That's KPTV.com. Reporting live in studio tonight, Brian McMillan, Fox 12 Oregon.
Brian, thank you. Anxiety is running high right now as COVID-19 spreads, but there are things to do to keep it in check and make sure you can stay positive. We're talking to a health expert on how to keep your spirits up. Plus, it's a proud Portland tradition crowning the Rose Princesses, but with closed schools and band gatherings, there are some changes this year. Now at 4:30, we're following new developments of the COVID-19 virus as new information is constantly coming into the newsroom. Here's what you need to know. Washington and Oregon both have made the decision to close schools all across the state. In Oregon, K through 12 schools will close on Monday until April 1st. In Washington, the closure is now extended to every school in the state, and theirs lasts longer. The earliest possible date students can go back to class would be April 27th. And we now have 30 positive cases in the state of Oregon. Across the river, there are 3 cases now in Clark County. And today, President Trump declared a national emergency. Now, we received a lot of questions about a rumor that the National Guard will be shutting down the border between Washington and Oregon. Now, we asked them, the National Guard, who says that is not true. Meanwhile, local supermarkets continue to be swamped. This morning, we saw droves of shoppers over at the Beaverton Fred Meyer along Southwest Walker Road. They were stocking up on essentials, but those we spoke with say a lot of store shelves were bare. Bath supplies, cleaning products, and tissues gone, they say. Even non-perishables like rice were hard to find.
It's packed. You can tell people are panicked and rushing to buy stuff.
And remember, a lot of stores, including Fred Meyer, are now limiting the amount of sanitary items that shoppers can buy at a time. So what do you really need to get if you're heading out to the store and plan to stay in, especially if you are self-quarantining? Our Fox 12's Elizabeth Din joins us now with a look at that.
Yeah, Bonnie, so a lot of people might be worried about running out of supplies, say if you have to stay home or self-quarantine. But what do you really need before hunkering down? We want to give you a list of recommendations from the CDC, even the Red Cross and the Department of Homeland Security. First, we want to let you know you should have food and water. Those officials recommend enough for each person in your household for at least 14 days. Also, be sure to stock your medicine cabinet and make any last-minute refills for prescriptions you might need. We're talking at least a month's worth for you. And you do want to also check up on hygiene items like cleaning supplies, but don't forget items you might need as well, like diapers and menstrual products. Bonnie, now back to you.
All right, Liz, thank you. And as you hear about stocking up, quarantine, schools being closed, you may feel some fear and anxiety. And you know what psychologists say, that's normal, but it is important to remain calm and manage your stress during these tough times. Our Fox 12's Camila Ortiz joins us now live with what she learned from an expert today. Camila?
Yeah, Bonnie, it's so important to talk about this. So I spoke with the behavioral health chief executive here at Providence, Oregon, who said she definitely thinks there's been a shift just in the last 48 hours with the onslaught of closures, declarations, and cancellations. So for starters, Dr. Robin Henderson said it's completely normal to feel stressed. Pandemics obviously don't happen every day, and with the way it's impacting everyday life, including work and social events, it's okay to feel uncertain or anxious. Henderson said it's crucial to try to stick to a routine, get good sleep, and find creative ways to keep the brain engaged and stay connected with other people.
Find a new show to binge watch this weekend, but also make time to go out and take a walk or perhaps make some ice cream. But do some other types of activities that keep people engaged so that you're not just sitting there on social media getting scared.
Henderson also suggests taking breaks from TV or social media from time to time if you feel like you're getting overwhelmed with all of the information. And while she said it's also normal to hoard supplies or food as a way to kind of regain that sense of control, she says people can take control in other healthy ways like exercising or gathering accurate information from trusted sources on this like the CDC or the WHO or, of course, your local news team. Reporting live here in Northeast Portland, Camila Ortiz, Fox 12 Oregon.
Really great to keep that in mind right now. Camila, thank you. And coronavirus concerns are also impacting one of our area's longest traditions.
Now to officially present Melissa, the 2020 Rose Festival Princess for Central Catholic.
Yeah, right there, senior Melissa Okazaka from Central Catholic High School was honored as the latest Rose Princess. But today's ceremony was a little different. Central Catholic was closed for coronavirus concerns yesterday, and today's event was pretty quick and only in front of a small crowd of supporters. Melissa says she's happy for the honor, but disappointed she couldn't stand in front of her classmates.
I was definitely not doing all right yesterday when I heard the news because it felt so disappointing that something I've worked so hard for and something that I've been looking forward to for so many months wouldn't be able to happen, because I just really wanted to say my speech in front of all my peers and get my crown and have my coronation.
And unless the event changes, she will now be representing her school at the Rose Festival Parade on June 6. Okay, let's take a break from the virus and check in on our weather. While we are talking snow today, you also can see what's on your screen right here. Those cherry blossoms are in true bloom right now down at the waterfront. Sadly, we've learned that the annual Cherry Blossom Festival over in Salem has been canceled because of coronavirus, but we still can enjoy these right here on your screen, and I'm sure they're still there today. So even with some snow and some rain, they're still sticking around.
By Sunday afternoon and Monday, they'll be in the sunshine again. So
Perfect.
that'll be pretty. Hopefully we don't get too much. Actually, we'll get some gusty east wind Saturday and Sunday, so hopefully it won't rip too many of them off. Now, Timberline is interesting today. I mean, I find all weather stuff interesting, but notice it was in the mid to upper 20s the whole day. Watch the pavement, though, just the pavement. And notice, even though it's 27 degrees, the pavement melts off. That happens as we get into spring because there's actually a lot of energy coming through the cloud cover because the sun's getting pretty high, and it can melt pavement even in the upper 20s. Another reason why we don't get widespread snowy and icy days in the metro area from early March onward, and that will not be the case tomorrow. There may be slushy snow on some roads early, briefly, but that should be about it. By the way, when's the last time we've seen measurable snow here in Portland? Mid to late March. It was March 21st, 2012. I remember this one. We actually had a whole bunch of snow down in the valley. It was like at 33 degrees, Bonnie. It was the slushiest, heaviest stuff you can imagine, but we had a half inch here. But some of the hills around town had 2, 3, 4 inches that night.
Wow. All right, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, there are a lot of rumors about how COVID-19 spreads, and as we wipe down our desks, counters, and phones, we have everything you need to know from the experts.
We're in unprecedented territory here.
Starting on Monday, all schools in Oregon will shut down for 2.5 weeks. Right now, district administrators are formulating plans for what exactly happens during this closure and beyond. Our Fox 12's Deborah Gill went over to Sunset High School to find out how the Beaverton School District is doing.
Students we talked to say they completely understand the need for the closure, but some are worried about how that might affect the rest of the school year.
It's good to limit contact with each other, I guess, around, in classes. Especially also in sports, that we're always together.
Students at Sunset High School headed into class for the last time until April 1st. Those we talked to feel the closure is the right thing to do, but they do have some concerns.
It's good that they're limiting contact, although personally I don't want to go into summer and have this be the extra week that we do in summer, because I like summer vacation.
The Beaverton School District's spokesperson says that is likely what will happen, that the missed days will be made up at the end of the year.
It just puts pressure on all systems.
For staff at Beaverton schools, closure doesn't mean time off. Right now, administrators are assessing who and what services are essential and who is not for the next week. They are not set up for complete online remote learning, and that is something they are trying to develop, but say making that happen for nearly 41,000 students is very difficult.
In terms of deeper classroom graded kind of material, that type of thing, we're not there yet.
That's a concern to students who fear it could affect grades and even graduation.
I'm also a little bit worried about missing tests that can up my grade because I'm a freshman.
Wheeler says the state will assess and either confirm or adjust the actual return date for everyone by March 25th. Until then, staff and students alike are trying to plan for what may lie ahead.
So we're looking at this 2 weeks, obviously, and then we're looking at what if it's beyond that.
The district has plans to deep clean the schools during the closure and will likely hand out breakfast and lunch, possibly through a drive-through method. They're still trying to work that out. In Northwest Portland, Deborah Gill, Fox 12 Oregon.
Well, they're in lockdown right now in Italy, and we're talking to 2 University of Oregon professors who are behind a strongly worded letter to the university about taking this break more seriously. Yeah, quite the song sung by Italians in lockdown during the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, people from all over the country stepped out onto their balconies and sang the national anthem. This is the view of Rome, and this is a way to show unity during this time of crisis. More than 17,000 people in the country have COVID-19. More than 1,000 people there have died. 2 University of Oregon professors have been out on the front lines of the coronavirus outbreak in Italy, which has been one of the countries at the center of this pandemic. Our Fox 12 Simon Gutierrez spoke with them on Skype today, and they offered some insight into what we can expect here in Oregon in the next few weeks.
Yeah, Bonnie, the 2 professors are based in Italy right now, and they're currently in a complete lockdown as the coronavirus epidemic ravages the country, where there have been 463 deaths so far. Earlier this week, they wrote a letter to the University of Oregon urging a more proactive response to the virus here in Oregon based on what they've experienced firsthand in Italy.
Why did you feel compelled to write that letter?
We were feeling very frustrated and worried. We see what's going on here in Italy, and it is an emergency situation, and I don't use that word lightly.
Melissa Grayboys is a professor of medical history, and her husband, Alfredo Berlando, a professor of economics. They're currently based in northern Italy and essentially confined to their home because of the coronavirus threat.
Supposedly you are allowed to go on short hikes and runs and walks as long as you are alone without anybody around you, and keeping a distance of 1 meter from each person that you encounter.
How is the access to food?
So supermarkets and pharmacies parapharmacies are all staying open. Every other business is closed for the next 2 weeks.
In the days since their letter was sent, both the University of Oregon and Oregon State University have implemented social distancing measures and taken classes online for the first 3 weeks of spring term. Given their experience in Italy, where doctors discovered the first coronavirus case in late February, Greyboys thinks Oregonians should also take drastic measures.
If you have the possibility to work remotely, do it. If you have the possibility to call into meetings, do it. If you have the possibility of keeping your kids at home, in your home, now is the time to do it, because extreme social distancing is going to be most effective at the beginning stages of an epidemic, before there's large amounts of community transmission, before your hospitals are overwhelmed and it becomes a mandate.
It sounds like a silly thing because if you're really successful in preventing the disease, you will not see it. And so you might think that you've done something for nothing. But the reality, we see here what happens when those warnings, that social distancing doesn't take place right away. And that is an escalation. And now we're stuck at home. We cannot move from our house. This is not permanent. It's just a moment that we need to ride out. And if we can coordinate and do it all together, we'll all be better off.
Greyboys and Burlando said they don't think it's inevitable that the situation in the United States will mirror the one they're seeing in Italy, but they also say that we shouldn't dismiss the possibility that it could. They say the most preventative measures we can take as a state now will pay dividends in the long run. Reporting live in studio, Simon Gutierrez, Fox 12 Oregon.
Simon, thank you. So if you do have a cough, you might be asking yourself, when should I make that decision to self-quarantine? Well, here's what the Department of Human Services has to say. You should quarantine if you have had close contact with someone who is diagnosed with COVID-19, or if you've recently traveled to China, Japan, South Korea, Iran, or Italy. If you're displaying symptoms like coughing or difficulty with breathing, you should visit a doctor for more testing, but it is important to remember that we are in the peak of cold and flu season, so not everyone who is sick right now has coronavirus. And with COVID-19 spreading amid cold, flu, and allergy season, that's causing some confusion over symptoms. The CDC and Mayo Clinic put out this helpful graphic called Coronavirus or Something Else. So itchy eyes, stuffy nose, and sneezing is all associated with cold or allergies and should not cause concern of COVID-19. The flu and coronavirus have some overlapping symptoms, though: fever, fatigue, body aches, cough, and worsening symptoms. The big red flags for coronavirus: shortness of breath, a history of travel, and exposure to someone with the virus. An important note as well, symptoms and risks really vary from person to person, so you can always check in with your doctor. And COVID-19 is a new disease. There is still a lot that's not known about this. Our Fox 12's Elizabeth Din has a look at what we do know. Liz?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Bonnie, it is a new disease, and so there's still a lot that we're still learning about COVID-19, as are the health experts. So we do want to sort out the facts for you of what researchers have already learned about how it spreads. So I want to show you that these are the main points from the CDC right here about how it spreads, and it says that the virus is most often thought to spread directly person to person when someone who is sick coughs or sneezes. Well, those droplets that come out can actually travel through the air. People who are in close contact, we're talking about within 6 feet or so, could possibly get infected by breathing in those exact droplets that I'm talking about here. And also, you've probably been hearing a lot lately about this thing, social distancing. The CDC says to avoid crowds, also try to stay further away from others as possible. That's just how we are right now, and that's what experts want us to focus on. And another term you've been hearing a lot about lately, community spread. It is when people have been infected in a certain area. That includes those who don't know anyone who is sick and aren't even sure how or where they even caught the virus. Now, whenever it comes to those surfaces that we're talking about, researchers say it may be possible to contract COVID-19 by touching something that's contaminated. So to get sick, now you would have to then touch your own mouth or nose, possibly even your eyes. This is not thought to be the main way the virus spreads. However, the CDC says to just still make sure you clean and disinfect regularly. We're thinking phones, doorknobs, light switches, anything else that gets touched a lot. on a daily basis. Live in studio, Elizabeth Din, Fox 12 Oregon.
Great tips, Liz, thank you. And it is still important to take the proper hygiene tip very seriously. Portland has also set up these hand washing stations all around the city. The 14 stations are meant to stop the spread of the virus. Most of the stations are downtown. There are also some set up elsewhere throughout the city. And we have a map with all of those locations on our website, kptv.com. All right, Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson joining us now to talk about our weather.
A little bit of snow and then it's gone.
Yeah, just
That's
like
the plan
that.
for tomorrow. Let me make it very clear. We do not expect like a frozen Portland tomorrow. We don't expect snow on all the roads and it's just a mess in the morning. But I do think in the morning it could be on some roads. If you get a heavy shower over one neighborhood, they could easily stick for a while. And it's a slushy stuff. Actually, sometimes that half inch of slush on a road is really, it makes my tires kind of
spin out, yeah.
Especially since I took my snow tires off. Because
there you go.
I should point out also, we did say, what was it, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, when I said, hey, winter is over, you can take your snow tires off. And I clearly said, I have the graphic still that says, do I sound defensive? I said we could have a brief morning wet snowfall. That's still a possibility anytime in March. But 43 degrees out at Newport right now. I don't think you will get snow there. Look how warm it is in LeGrand, 54 out there. That's ahead of a cold front that's approaching. You folks will be much cooler the next 2 days. You see those 50s over central and eastern Oregon. Well, the cool air has moved in west of the Cascades, most areas. But look at these temps. So tomorrow should be about like today, 42 for a high. So again, no matter what happens early in the day, by noon, 1, 2, 3, all the roads are probably, the surface temp probably about 50. But 42 is the afternoon temperature in the air. 44 on Sunday, so still chilly. Both days will have an east wind. It'll feel cooler than this. And then we get rid of a lot of the east wind Monday and go all sunny and 56. It's possible Tuesday, St. Patrick's Day, could be our warmest day of the season so far. That's a possibility. So spring is back, folks, here. And then we stay pretty normal here Thursday and Friday, which is now apparently the first week of Oregon spring break. And I guess it would be a long spring break coming up in Washington. All right, so snow forecast. We get to 3 a.m. We see scattered showers around, changing to mainly snow. And notice how they stick around until we get to the afternoon tomorrow. Then the showers really taper off. And you don't see much more after that. Yeah, I suppose there could be a flurry on Sunday. I think that's unlikely, though. In general, we're going towards more sunshine and that cool easterly wind. So snow forecast again. You don't see a whole bunch showing up here, but some spots will get a little bit of snow tomorrow morning. So forecast for the coastline for tomorrow. Looks like it'll be showery. There will be mixed showers. I don't think there'll be sticking snow at the coast. A little bit too warm out there. Here in the valleys, definitely anybody could see a dusting to 2 inches. It is a possibility. Other neighborhoods, nothing, because the showers won't pass over you. Everybody's in the low 40s in the afternoon. Snow showers traced to 3 inches, we think, in the gorge. That could be all the way down to river level. So in the morning, I-84 could be partially snow covered. And then up on Mount Hood, a snowy day. We think 5 to 8 inches of snow up there. And a quick look at the 7-day forecast. Wow, this is really nice. Look at all the sunshine Sunday afternoon all the way through, we think, mostly sunny at least, through the end of next week. More news right after the break.
Amid the COVID-19 outbreak, one of the major closures that's impacting families, especially during this spring break, is Disneyland. It's closing their doors, and that could impact business in that area as well.
I charge you $2.59.
From souvenir stores to the local restaurants, they all depend on Disney for their business. But now,
this whole area is going to be destroyed after the Disney closure.
Disney's the big one, you know.
Yeah, they bring in everybody, essentially. I think this is like one of the most visited spots in the world, so shutting down like its main attraction is just going to lose everybody.
that's the big economic fear in the heart of the Anaheim resort area. Harbor Boulevard just blocks away from the Disney theme parks. That will close Saturday morning for the rest of the month.
Our sales has gone down at least 50% down since the last couple of weeks.
And with Disney gone, then it's really bad, huh?
It's gonna be probably close to 90%. I hope it's not, but yeah.
The Disney parks have become the lifeblood of the economy, worth at least $8.5 billion, as reported in a 2018 economic study by Cal State Fullerton. And this from Anaheim's current budget, Disney bringing in a projected $263 million in just sales and hotel taxes.
This is going to be a relatively short period of time, and hopefully in a few weeks' time, we're back to it. We're back to what everybody loves about Anaheim.
But fears of coronavirus started to take its toll on businesses here.
Definitely affected in their business, definitely. And then affected maybe in their life and their neighborhood. But I think we don't have another choice.
Especially since the Disney closure is just the latest hit for all of these local businesses.
We lost the Natural Foods Convention already earlier this month, so like we take hit after hit.
All right, that's going to do it for us on the 4 o'clock news. Now I'll pass things over to Pete and Liz for the 5 o'clock news.
All right, Bonnie, thank you so much. Of course, we've had a busy day in the newsroom, so we have a lot to share. We've got your news at what's going on in today's news and